In 1980, a small Filipino boy came to the United States seeking an education and to be reunited with his family. That same Filipino boy would move to the great city of Bloomington 33 years later to start a family. Hello, my name is Micah Rouleau, and I am an immigrant from the Philippines, a business leader with 18 years experience in the private industry, a community activist, and I would like to ask for your vote for Bloomington City Council. I think the mission of local government is to enrich the lives of residents and to build sustainable communities. Bloomington is a great city that has done well around big business and strip malls. I would like to shift the focus to neighborhoods, small business, and families. This is my vision for the city of Bloomington. My family and I came to the United States when I was 7 years old at the request of my grandmother, who wanted me and my younger brothers to be educated in the United States. She believed that education was the key to a successful life and a way for my family to escape the poverty of the Philippines. My grandmother was an incredible person who raised 7 kids as a single mom and ran a small business. She is the inspiration for my career and my life. She was the first person to teach me the values of dedication, hard work, and a good education. I believe that a strong community that looks out for each other is paramount to a thriving city. When I arrived in the U.S., I couldn't even speak enough English to communicate to my younger brother. My mother and father would frequently have to step in and translate, or I would end up fighting over toys or food with my younger brother. I remember the struggle in elementary school so badly that I ended up in the lowest reading group in the 1st grade. Lucky for me, I was blessed with 2 things: an incredible mom and a dedicated group of elementary teachers. My teachers spent extra time teaching me how to read and introduced me to the local librarian who was in charge of the children's books. Each day after school, my mom would drop me off at the library and would spend countless hours reading about U.S. history, mythology, mysteries, and politics. My mother encouraged me to read a lot of books, and she was a tremendous role model for me because she had a voracious appetite for reading. There was always books in the house. That support helped me get a scholarship to St. Cloud State University and then to Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. to study politics and economics. My career has taken me to many different kinds of organizations, from small medical device companies to high-tech organizations like Optum and world-class healthcare providers like the Mayo Clinic. I currently lead teams that focus on solving some of the biggest issues in healthcare. My ability to understand budgets and complex government regulations and innovate under pressure set me apart from others. But most importantly, my skill to listen carefully and to form effective partnerships with business partners and government agencies makes me uniquely qualified for this role. I'm also an activist in the community and have been involved in political campaigns most of my adult life. To move Bloomington forward, we need to work together in this pivotal time when some families are struggling due to declining wages, the increasing costs of home ownership, and also healthcare costs. I have experienced this struggle. My family lived in public housing until my parents were able to secure good-paying jobs, which allowed us to purchase our first modest home. My father worked in a glass factory, earning $10 an hour to support our family until he entered a union-sponsored jobs training program and became a corrections officer for the county. My father would remain an AFSCME union member for 30 years. My mother, a trained nurse in the Philippines, had to gain experience and also had to pass the nursing board exams in the U.S. before she was allowed to practice nursing. After passing the nursing exam, she accepted a position as a full-time nurse at the local nursing home and became a member of the local nurses union. If elected, one of my top priorities is to engage the neighborhoods on a regular basis and to actively solicit community feedback. Bloomington residents are incredibly smart and want to be engaged. Residents like Shawn, a recent graduate of Kennedy High School who struggled with dyslexia at a young age. Shawn supports my city council campaign because we both share a passion for education and for also supporting the most vulnerable populations living in Bloomington. When I look at the key issues facing Bloomington, the increasing diversity, the aging city infrastructure and population, and the protection of the city's green space, I think that I can make a difference and help the city solve these issues. I have the cross-cultural skills and the experience required to form effective partnerships with the growing diverse population in Bloomington. I understand how to build effective partnerships to gain their access to the resources that are required to rebuild the city's aging infrastructure. I also believe in protecting the city's green space, but I recognize the need for the city to grow and expand so that seniors and younger families can afford to buy houses in Bloomington. I would like to ask for your vote on November 7th. For additional information on my campaign, you can visit my website at mikeforbloomington.com. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nathan Coulter. I'm running for Bloomington City Council, the at-large seat, and I'd be honored to earn your vote. As far as my background, I've lived in Bloomington my whole life, and I'm proud to be a product of our Bloomington Public Schools. I hold a degree in music education and political science from St. Olaf, and I just recently started my master's in public affairs at the Humphrey School at the U of M. I work for and with our Bloomington legislators in St. Paul, and I also serve on the boards for the Bloomington Housing and Redevelopment Authority and the Perpich Center for Arts Education. My wife Charity and I live by Moyer Park and love that we're close enough to walk to 9 Mile Creek. I'm running because now is not the time for status quo leadership. Bloomington is a well-run, well-managed city, and I believe that if new, forward-looking leadership with a fresher perspective steps up, we can achieve incredible things together. I'm running because I believe that our government needs to focus not just on where we've been or where we are now, but where we'll be as we look to our future. The reality is that the thinking that got us where we are today will not be the thinking that gets us where we need to go tomorrow. My priorities for our city focus on the changes that are already occurring and how we can welcome them, embrace them, and become a stronger city because of them. More and more folks are getting around without using cars, whether they're older residents who aren't able to drive or younger ones who simply choose not to. We need to do a better job of ensuring that our city is more walkable and bikeable, and that our neighbors all over Bloomington have better access to public transit and transportation. Other communities, both in Minnesota and throughout the country, have recognized this reality, and Bloomington needs to as well. Affordable housing is a need that's already going unmet in Bloomington and will only increase as we look to the future. Seniors want to stay here, young families, students, and workers want to come here, and Bloomington should welcome all of them. Serving on the HRA, I've been part of a working group focused on preserving naturally occurring affordable housing, and there are a number of other innovative ideas on both the policy side and the investment side that we can pursue to encourage development and preservation of affordable housing. Finally, I believe in a government that is responsive and accessible to anyone who needs it. A lot of what we've seen over the last few years, regardless of where you sit politically, is that folks are just sick and tired of feeling like their voices aren't being heard. I believe it does fall to elected officials to proactively seek out those voices and have those conversations. Whether it's a formal town hall in the council chambers, or even just, hey, I'll be at the Caribou on France and Old Shakopee on Saturday morning. Come have a cup of coffee and talk to me about the things you want to talk to me about. When folks are actively engaged and their voices are respected, even when we still have disagreements, which will happen, and everybody may not like the outcome, we can all respect the process. And that's how we move forward together. They say the first rule of politics is always ask for their vote. So I'm asking for yours. I'd encourage you to check out my website, www.neighborsfornathan.com, and get in touch with me there. I'm always happy to have conversations and talk about the issues that are important to you, so please feel free to reach out. I love my hometown. I value Bloomington not just as a place I happen to live, but as my home and my community. And I believe when you value something, you work hard to make it better. I'm running because I know what this community has given me, and I want to give back. I'm running because my roots in Bloomington and my experience working with federal, state, and local leaders has prepared me to do the challenging work that we need to do to make things better. I'm running because I know where we've been and I know where we need to go. I'd be honored to serve my hometown, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shawn Nelson, and I'm a candidate for Bloomington City Council in District 2. I lived in Bloomington for 18 years. My wife Ann and I, along with our girls, Stacia and Emma, have made our home in Bloomington because of the wonderful people, schools, parks, and community groups. Bloomington is a great place to live and raise a family. I'm a small business owner of a couple of companies, and I've been actively involved in leadership positions in the business community and housing industry for 20 years. I will use my education and experience to help the City of Bloomington foster a healthy business environment and manage its services effectively. I am running to help build a community where we can eat, shop, and play in or near our neighborhoods. The city should be proud of the great development around the mall and along 494. However, it is time to also focus on the needs of our residents and businesses in our neighborhoods. I will work to bring in new restaurants so we have more options for our families and to gather with our friends. It won't be easy, but we can attract new restaurants by reducing the barriers that make it difficult for them to open and succeed. I will work to develop a forward-looking plan to address the retail challenges facing our local strip malls and their business tenants. We can encourage innovative new businesses to open and grow in Bloomington. I will work to provide community amenities that our residents will use, will help us attract new families into our community, and allow us to be active. Key to me is having community spaces where young kids can play, parents can connect, youth sports can thrive, and retirees can gather and stay fit. Bloomington is blessed with great natural spaces, including the river bottoms, Highland, Dred Scott, just to name a few that are in District 2. We need to maintain these community assets so they are available for the use and enjoyment of our residents. A few of my other priorities for the city include housing, transportation, and education. We need to have a plan to help with the housing and transportation needs of our boomers, whether they're seeking to stay in their house, downsize, or looking for senior housing options. We need to attract and meet the needs of families with children, and we need to make it possible to provide workforce housing. With cars as the primary mode of transportation, maintaining our roads is paramount. We need to also address the increasing concerns about traffic flowing off of our major roads into and through our neighborhoods. And we need to meet the demand for biking and walking traffic within the city, providing safe corridors for commuters, recreation, and children. Importantly, we need a transportation system that efficiently connects workers with jobs. The city needs to be a strong partner with the school district. I will also explore options to expand worker training and pathways for those looking to go directly into careers after high school. I also encourage you to vote yes on the school referendum this fall. Our schools are a vital component to a thriving community, healthy business environment, and help keep our property values high. I am also running to build a community where we cherish and celebrate our diversity. I will work to ensure all are welcome, our staff is trained to serve diverse residents, and we enhance our outreach. We love Bloomington. It is a great city. I am running to enhance this wonderful city to be a place we can eat, shop, and play in or near our neighborhoods. We will continue to be a place that will attract young families, be a great place for older residents, provide decent, safe options for working families, and be a community that welcomes all people. If this is the type of community you would like, please like my Facebook page, @Nelson for Bloomington, request a yard sign for my website, nelsonforbloomington.com, and of course, please vote for me, Shawn Nelson, for City Council in District 2.
Hello, I'm Eldon Spencer, and I currently serve as your District 2 Council member. Since the Council appointed me in March from among 13 qualified applicants, including my opponent, to fill a vacancy in this seat until after the upcoming election, I have attended every Council meeting and every study session. I've responded to many constituent questions and calls, and I hope to walk through each of your neighborhoods before the election on November 7. My council appointment followed nearly 30 years as a resident of our Bloomington neighborhood. My wife Ann and I raised our daughters here, and now we have had the chance to introduce our 3 grandchildren to the local parks and other facilities that make our city a great place to live. Professionally, I've been involved since the 80s in growing my law firm from a small law firm to a medium-sized place, but also to helping businesses of all sizes become successful workplaces for their employees. High among my professional honors has been the opportunity to share my experience with students as a professor at both Mitchell and Hamlin Law Schools. On the community side, Ann and I have engaged in many volunteer activities, from charitable fundraising to block watch neighborhood captaincy and other neighborhood activities. Over 20 years ago, I joined a number of men and women in chartering the Bloomington Daymakers Rotary Club, and through the club I had the opportunity numerous service activities such as staffing the annual teen job fair, serving as a mentor for the Jefferson Strive program, and taking regular turns packing Veep backpacks and gift bags for needful students and seniors in our city. I have also had the chance during 6 years on the Bloomington Planning Commission to sharpen my perspective on a wide range of issues facing our city. Let's consider 3 of those types of issues that are going to come up for whoever you elect to this council position. First of all is the issue of green space and preservation versus land sale. This came up recently when the council sent out an RFP over my objections that the action was being taken prematurely and with inadequate advanced research, that invited proposals to redevelop the former driving range or even the entire area that includes the current Highland Greens course. Although amendments to the RFP that I offered or supported were added to require retention of an open, public, and reasonably accessible golf course with practice facilities as part of any proposal that would be considered, I remain skeptical that any proposal consistent with reasonable neighborhood expectations will emerge. Once we sell the land, we'll never get it back. We must make every effort to preserve the quality of our neighborhoods, and that includes preserving the quality that the residents have reason to expect. Secondly, our continuing issues regarding infrastructure maintenance and making careful spending decisions when we balance those against the other city needs. Whether we're recoding water towers, accommodating new fire station needs, or dealing with flood zones, our city is facing a number of issues that require immediate and prioritized attention. It is simply unfair to future residents to defer action on these items until they need even more urgent attention at escalated costs for which no earlier contributions have been made. The same principle applies to issues such as full funding of currently accrued portions of future retirement promises or other commitments. Finally, an example of an issue that came up and that we wouldn't expect is probably illustrative of other things that might come up: the attack on the Dar el Farouk Islamic Center. I believe it demonstrated the need in many cases to act quickly and to act in unison, and that's why the council issued a joint statement immediately at our next meeting following the attack, supporting the right of everyone in Bloomington to worship in a setting free from fear. As Jack Kemp once observed, there's no room for discrimination on the football field or anywhere else when we need to pull together for our common goals. Whether it's a football game or my 6 years in the Army Reserve, I know how true that is. Finally, let me make the following promises: to continue to exercise my best judgment informed by your input and real facts. Secondly, to explore public-private nonprofit partnerships to meet public needs in the most cost-effective ways. And finally, not to sign any pledges other than to be true to my oath of office.
Good afternoon. My name is Jack Beluga. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for creating this video forum. Again, I'm Jack Beluga, and I'm the incumbent City Council representative, and I represent the 3rd District, which is the northwest quadrant of the city. It's been my honor to serve you. Thank you for your trust and confidence. I'm also a 30-year resident of the city, and I'm blessed having a wonderful family, including 3 children and 7 grandchildren, one of whom lives here in Bloomington. I'm a University of Minnesota graduate with a bachelor's degree in business and accounting. As to my professional experiences, I've enjoyed a successful business career as a commercial real estate developer, first as an employee of a Fortune 500 company, and later as a small business owner. I know what it means to run a business and make a payroll. I bring that business and financial acumen to the city to help address and solve its problems. I founded a not-for-profit in 2000, and I continue to be actively engaged in it. This venture is dedicated to assisting the unemployed in finding work opportunities through networking. I have also served on the boards of many other nonprofits. My civic engagement and participation spans more than 20 years. During that time, I served on many advisory boards and commissions for Bloomington. During that time, I learned how the city operates. I now use that knowledge and experience as a member of City Council to better serve you, its residents. The city of Bloomington is in great financial shape. That condition is evidenced by the fact that Bloomington is one of just 19 communities out of 31,000 nationally to receive AAA bond ratings by all three rating services. At the same time, we have kept our taxes lowest in Hennepin County on a median valued single-family home, while delivering city services that rank among the best in the area. I will continue to work in collaboration with the other members of council to keep our property taxes low and affordable and continue to deliver the high-quality services that are important to the residents and business community based here in Bloomington. I have worked along with the other city council members to create 6 strategic objectives, which we will focus on going forward over the next 3 to 5 years. The first of which is community amenities. We have and will continue to have to provide community amenities to residents and visitors to make Bloomington a destination city. Environmental sustainability is number 2. And in that area, we established a sustainability commission to advise the council on environmental policy last year. The third is focused renewal. We need a healthy business and residential sector as each complement and support the other. As our infrastructure, commercial areas, and housing ages, we need to leverage those assets to ensure that Bloomington continues to remain a vibrant city. The fourth is high-quality services delivery. Bloomington continues to deliver city services that rank among the best in the metro area. Fifth is community image. And the results of the National Citizen Survey are now in. You, the residents, have ranked the city of Bloomington at its highest all-time rating in the areas of quality of life, feeling safe, value for tax dollars, environment, and recreation and wellness. There is more work yet to do, though. Inclusion and equity is the last but the most important of all these objectives. As a community, our demographics are changing and evolving. We need to be a city that welcomes and supports all. We are one Bloomington. I am closing by presenting you 5 reasons to re-elect Jack Beluga for City Council on November 5th. My civic participation, my business experience, my educational background, my leadership skills, and lastly, my vision for Bloomington. That vision is high quality of life, good jobs and housing, superior educational opportunities, and outstanding city services at an affordable cost. Thank you. Please vote for me on November 7th.
Hi, I'm Larry Frost, and I'd like your vote this year for City Council Ward 3. I've lived in Bloomington since 2001. In fact, my wife and I moved into our dream house that we built in West Bloomington 5 days before 9/11. That was the last time I saw it for about a year. I was at that time in my final assignment in the U.S. Army. I was a lieutenant colonel stationed at Fort McCoy, and my job was to mobilize all of the soldiers we were sending overseas to war. It was my responsibility to guarantee they were as ready for combat as possible, so I didn't come home and see my family till about a year and a half later. When I did come home, I retired. And at that point, we had the opportunity to raise our two sons here. They've been through Bloomington schools. One of them's in college now, one of them's a senior. I'd like to give something back to the community. And what I'd like to give back is the experience I had working for 5 general officers throughout my career in the military. It taught me a lot about staffs and about how you get things done. I'm also concerned about representation. I think that I want to see all the people in the city represented. I have had a number of Latinos come to me, and I have spoken with them. They don't feel like they're represented on the city council. I will represent the Latinos here, not only in my district, but all over the city. Les prometo que le voy a representar de una manera buena. I speak Spanish, and I grew up in a Spanish family, even though I'm not Latino. What I would like to do is represent your voices in the city council in a way that perhaps is a little different than it's being done right now. I promise all of you that I will have quarterly meetings, open houses, and you can come and talk to me. I'll be available on social media, and I will try to represent you on the issues that matter. I think your representative should listen to you, not lecture you. There are a number of specific issues that motivated me to run. One of them is the whole Highland Park issue. Now, I don't really care whether we use Highland Park for golf or something else. That's the decision the City Council can make later. But the City Council has voted to begin the process of selling some of our green space to build apartments on. I think that's short-sighted and foolish. We can't make more green space. It's a bad idea, and I oppose it. My opponent favors it. I also oppose the idea of paving part of the Minnesota River to make a trail. Does the council know that that trail floods 20 feet every year? That trail is going to get washed away. It doesn't make a lot of sense. These are the kinds of things that I think common sense tells us a city councilman ought to be able to do without referring to a lot of technical data. I am also concerned about city governance. Our city council has done a number of things, especially with reference to land use, that favor one group over another. That's divisive, and I don't think it helps the city at all. As your city councilman, I'll try to see that everyone, especially residential areas, are treated well and equally in our land use proceedings. There's another issue that comes to mind to me, and that is city governance. We have a well-governed city in most respects, but our city council is really not in charge. Our city council gets most of its information through this professional staff. I learned working for those 5 general officers that you never get all your information from one source. For example, I would like to see our union representatives be able to come into every city council meeting and answer questions and provide information from the worker level. I think that's important, and I think it would improve our governance. I live in Ward 3. My family has lived there for 20 years. I'm going to be around, and I would like your vote for Larry Frost for City Council in Ward 3 next November. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Patrick Martin, and I'm running for the City Council seat in Bloomington's District 4 over on the east side. I've spent my career working with local churches and nonprofits like the Salvation Army to equip families with the tools they need for success and self-sufficiency. I'm proud of my service on the Bloomington Parks, Arts, and Recreation Commission, the Advisory Board of Health, and serving as Bloomington's representative to Tri-City Partners for Healthy Communities. Now, over the course of that service, I've dove headfirst into data that outlines the long-term demographic changes facing the community of Bloomington. And while they're going to pose challenges, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that with optimism, determination, and with fresh perspective, we can turn those challenges into the opportunities that will fuel our growth long term. Now, I just want to touch on a few of those areas here today. First, we need to make sure we are supporting the senior population that built Bloomington into the thriving city it is today. Right now, data shows that 1 in 3 Bloomington seniors currently live alone, and that figure is expected to double by 2030. We need to proactively invest in creative initiatives like senior home health visits. The program, which sends public health nurses out to visit seniors, well, in their home, is proven long-term to improve medical outcomes and reduce emergency costs. The public health nurses provide training on things like fall prevention, medication management. They liaison with insurance companies to make sure that seniors' needs are met, and quite simply, reduce isolation and loneliness. Additionally, we need to provide flexible community spaces for senior-based programming. Now, whether that's something as simple as a walking club or a knitting circle, or providing structured opportunities for cultural outings, making sure that our growing senior population feels connected and invested in the city they helped to build is better for us all long term. Second, we need to attract and retain the families that will serve as Bloomington's economic and cultural foundation in the decades ahead. Now, simply put, Bloomington is an expensive place in which to put down roots. Your average two-bedroom apartment in the city of Bloomington has gone up nearly $300 a month in the last 4 years alone. That's if you can find one. The vacancy rate is under 1.6%. Now, average wages for a Bloomington worker haven't gone up since 1997, meaning it is harder and harder to find a place to put down roots and start a family. I'm in the process of that right now myself. It's critical that as we face the largest turnover of housing stock in nearly 40 years, we are protecting and preserving the naturally occurring affordable housing we already have in the city. We can do this by investing in programs like Bloomington's Home Housing Loan Rehabilitation Fund and the Greater Minnesota Housing Rehabilitation Fund, so that again, as that turnover occurs, we're preserving and improving the housing we have as opposed to tearing it down and putting up more luxury options. In addition, we need to make sure that we have affordable childcare options for these young families. Now, whether that's investing in programs like the View or the Mini View that provide summer recreational outings for kids when there would be otherwise an unstructured time, whether that's home-based care options, or finally, if it's just making sure we have fertile ground for private facilities, making sure that young parents feel comfortable and affordable both living and working in our community is going to be the key to our economic success long-term. Finally, it's crucial that we bridge the long-standing divides in both business and infrastructure development that we see across our city. Now, it's no secret that over the last 30 to 40 years, there has not been quite as much investment or attention paid to the east side of our city as to our neighbors in the west. And the fact is, the business community is taking notice. Nearly 40% of our retailers and service employers in the east side in the last National Business Survey noted that their employees had a hard time finding public transportation or lacked confidence in the quality of our roads to get to work. And that's translating directly into confidence in the City Council, as 42% of those same employers said they had little to no confidence in our City Council addressing those problems long term. It is critical that as we're anticipating two-thirds of our city's population growth being in East Bloomington's South Loop District, home to the majority of our service and retail industry, we need to make sure they are at the table, they feel confident, engaged, and involved in the planning process moving forward. 51% of our total tax base is paid by retailers, service industry, construction, and the finance industries. If we're going to make sure we have a stable and prosperous long-term trajectory, they need to be involved from the get-go and throughout the planning process. Now, I would so appreciate your support come November 7th when it comes to the general election. For more information, feel free to check out the website, www.patrickforbloomington.com or facebook.com/patrickforbloomington. We desperately need fresh perspective on Bloomington City Council as we address these challenges in the decades to come, and together, I think we can do it.
Hello. Thanks to the Bloomington League of Women Voters for the hours of work that they put into producing this candidate's video. I'm John Olsen. I've appreciated the opportunity to represent the people of Northeast Bloomington for the past 4 years. I seek re-election because I need to continue on several issues that are important to Northeast Bloomington, important to all of Bloomington. I want to keep positive momentum going. I speak about 3 issues: community center, affordable housing, and supporting our neighborhoods. The City Council responded in 2015 to numerous requests by Bloomington residents to look into building a community center that would build upon the services of Creekside Community Center. Residents see the value of a comprehensive community center that would greatly expand health supporting, community building opportunities. Many see it as a magnet in Bloomington that would attract young families, the lifeblood to Bloomington's future. I was selected to represent the council on a hard-working resident and staff community center task force. We turned over many stones, vigorously debated many issues, and presented recommendations to the council. You perhaps read recently that the city and the YMCA have signed a non-binding memorandum of understanding. We've agreed to meet together to further research what our residents want and need, discuss things like design and location, and negotiate who pays for what. I started promoting such partnering while on the task force. Secondly, a recent study of Bloomington's housing stock reports that we have a severe shortage of affordable rental units. This is a quality of life issue, not only for families struggling to make ends meet in a skyrocketing rent cost market, but for the whole community. All dynamics in a community need to be strong and healthy. I serve on our city's Housing and Redevelopment Authority, the primary agency within city government to problem solve the affordable housing crisis. I also serve on a Metro Cities Committee that lobbies the Minnesota legislature to write policies and provide financial support. I pledge to continue working with developers like United Properties and nonprofits like Ian and Common Bond. Each of them have been or are in the process of increasing the availability of affordable housing in Bloomington with very limited use of taxpayer money. Thirdly, Northeast Bloomington was built out in the 50s and 60s during the rapid growth of the suburbs. Many homeowners still live where they raised families. I smile as I bike or drive by the many homes and yards that have been maintained so well. Older homes need maintenance. Some houses, yards, and driveways need refreshing. Enter the curbside appeal loan that I started promoting 3 years ago. It's now a reality as a pilot project in a large portion of Northeast Bloomington. Now in its second year, it's been a great success. It's one of the reasons that residents in Northeast Bloomington are feeling even better about living in District 4. I will expand my efforts to do more in a second term. Northeast Bloomington reflects changing dynamics, common throughout much of the metro. Houses are selling like hotcakes. Younger people are moving next door to seniors. Bloomington reflects the nation in becoming ever more culturally diverse. I will work with residents to figure out how we get to really know each other, understand and relate well with new neighbors. I want to talk to you about what makes a neighborhood function well, and I firmly believe that such dialogue will lead us to discover good values are common across cultures. Years ago, the local grocery store was a social setting. We walked to neighborhood schools and churches, places that were an extension of our neighborhoods. Somehow, we need to figure out replacement ways to develop neighborhood relationships. Bloomington is a great city. It's why I chose to move here 14 years ago. During those 14 years, I volunteered at Valley View Middle School, attend events there and at Kennedy High School, and have been very engaged in my church, service organizations like Rotary, and in my own neighborhood. I hope you feel that I've earned your vote in a few weeks, and I invite you to support me as the guy who wants to keep partisan politics out of Bloomington's City Council.